Last game that we're going to discuss is a 7 o'clock game between the number 18 UCLA Bruins traveling to Beavertown and playing the number 15 ranked Oregon State Beavers. Oregon State's a 5-point favorite at home. Chase, let's hear it.
Dude, both these teams just piss me off. I'll tell you that. For some reason, both of these teams have Washington State at their focal point. Oregon State, I believe, loses to them when I thought that, Washington State wasn't that good. This past week, I was like, oh, UCLA sucks. They scored 7 points against Utah, and Utah doesn't have an offense. And then all of a sudden they come out and beat Washington State and when they were unranked. Both of these teams just make me sick. I'll just tell you that. But I'm just not sold on UCLA yet. I'm going to lean Oregon State here. I'm going to stick with them. I think they've had a phenomenal season. Oregon State really has a quiet, very good season. You see us all, the Heisman race also, national media, Oregon, USC, Washington. Oregon State's played a very, very good season. Besides the one loss to Washington State, they have played phenomenal ball so far. And I'm actually very invested in their season. They played Utah, beat them convincingly, played Cal. Like they played very well to the kind of game that is needed. Utah game is a very low scoring game, and the offense found a way to get away with a win there. And then they go to Cal, and it has to be a shootout, and they win at Cal. And then UCLA, they they I don't know. They're just kind of up and down to me, and it kind of makes me mad. And somehow they pulled out the Washington State game, but I think they're going on the road at Oregon State. I think DJU and the defense over there will kind of be not the similar Utah score that we saw. It's not going to be 14-7, but I think it's going to be that kind of like, 28-13, 28-17. It's kind of going to be a little low scoring. And I'm going to go Oregon State in this game. Quinn?
Yeah, I'm in a weird place because I was kind of high on both of these teams coming into the season as like sleepers that people weren't talking about. They were kind of my team four, team five. Like outside of the big three preseason, they were the two I kept my eyes on: UCLA and Oregon State. And then both of them simultaneously lost. UCLA, I put faith in them. They got beat by Utah. I put my faith openly into Oregon State. They lost that game to Washington State. And I kind of sold my stock on both teams. And now here we are. And Oregon State responds by beating Utah, and UCLA responds by beating Washington State. And it's like, okay, so now I feel like I haven't gotten a chance to really like I don't know. I don't know how to view these two teams right now. And I guess the thing that I'm resting on with the two, they both have pretty decent defenses. I think Oregon State's got the edge at quarterback, and I think the crowd at Corvallis is underrated. I'll say that. I think Oregon State has a good like fan base, a good following. I think there's something to Washington State and Oregon State being left out. It's going to keep them beating some of these teams. So I think Oregon State finds a way to win this game because of the atmosphere and the edge at quarterback.
Man, Quinn, me and you, honestly, we both were high on UCLA against Utah. We were. We were high on Chip Kelly, and then they put out a blunder, only scoring 7 points. That's an embarrassment. But then, they put up 25 against Washington State. Now, you look at Oregon State, they've scored, the minimum that they've scored all year long was 21 points against Utah in a win against one of the best, probably two defenses in the Pac-12. They put up 21 on them. So that's a very interesting thing to look at. Whenever you break it down into team stats, honestly, these teams are pretty dead even on offense. On defense, UCLA averages giving up around 100 yards less per game than Oregon State does. I think Oregon State being at home, that's a wash to me. I think Oregon State will be able to move the ball at home. I think the stats are going to be very similar. Oregon State's a 5-point favorite. I'm going to give Oregon State the win, but not cover the 5 points. I think it's going to be close to like a walk-off field goal. UCLA driving down, they miss a field goal, something like that. But this is going to be a very entertaining game for Saturday night at 7 o'clock Central Time. So very excited for this game, but I'm going to go Oregon State to win, but not cover the points.